What's happening, Reds? Good evening and welcome to LFC Transfer Room, where today we might actually have a bit of news about a transfer for us, believe it or not. I've got three of our usuals to discuss it all with. First up, Tossin, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm great. Great to be here. And because celebrating the transfer, I decided to go with a Champions League winning jersey. So come on, you mighty red man.
And what about you, Neil, mate? How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. All good.
Good.
I'm happy.
Dan?
I'm happy the Premier League's back.
Oh, mate, so am I. Best feeling ever, innit? You feel lost on the footy's gone.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It was fun to watch the football of the weekend, and also have transfer news, and also Tottenham having that draw yesterday against Leicester, which was hilarious to say the least. Sorry to all the latent Spurs fans out there.
Now, the rumours are that Mr. Cadbury's chocolate himself, Richard Hughes, has finally stopped taking selfies and took his thumb out of his ass and is close to sealing a signing. Can you believe it? So we've obviously been in negotiations for the Valencia goalkeeper, Mamardashvili. Forgive me if I pronounced that wrong. But it looks as if after we've been negotiating for must be 10 days at least now, that us in Valencia are coming to an agreement for what looks to be 30 million euros. And it looks now as if he'll actually stay at Valencia rather than going to Bournemouth for the first season. So I'll start with you, Neil. What do you think of that deal, mate? 30 million euros. Do you think it's a good deal?
Yeah, I think at that price we're potentially getting one of the best keepers in the world in the future. So I think for 25 million, can't go wrong for that. And even though we hate to see it, we are going to have to replace Alisson eventually. And by doing this deal now, it's a good way of future-proofing and ensuring we've got a replacement ready in advance. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it seems like a good idea, doesn't it, to have someone already there for when Alisson does eventually go. Dan, initially, we thought he'd be going to Bournemouth for 2 years. It looks as if he'll be staying at Valencia for this season. Does that matter at all? Are you happy with him going to Valencia, or would you prefer them to have gone to Bournemouth for the season?
I mean, what Valencia in Europe this year? I don't know if someone can tell me. I think that's more. Nope, they're not in Europe this year. I don't know. I mean, like I think with goalkeepers, it's just game time in general. You know, Alisson was at Roma and he was back up to Wojciech Szczesny for like a year and a half before he actually started playing for Roma. And then he had that really great run for about maybe 8 to 9 months with the Champions League and Serie A before we tried to signal out to buy him in January. Then we bought him in the summer for 72 odd million pounds. No, I don't really have an issue with it. I was actually worried that the deal was going to get overly complicated, which is something that maybe has been a recurring theme this summer with sell-on clauses and loan deals and stuff like that. Because the time that's been taken for, I would say, about 2 weeks, I think, is when I did a show where he was first linked with Guehi Mamardashvili. I'm okay with him staying for a year. I think but if he's staying for a year and he's coming in next year, I imagine he's coming in next year to start, which probably means that Alisson is probably getting sold at the end of the summer, which is not maybe a good sign, because if you're spending 30 million on a goalkeeper, he's probably going to start. And I think that's also a sign that Kelleher is most likely going to go. I don't know if he's in his final year of his contract or second year, but I think there's going to be a massive clear out between this summer and next summer with a lot of players that maybe we thought we were going to have for a couple more years. So Alisson being one, obviously the Van Dijk contract has been sorted, or the Trent or the Salah, and I imagine probably only one or two of them will get done. I think there's an understanding right now that they're probably going to move on Alisson next year. I wonder if he might be going back. I know people said Brazil, but I wonder if he might be going back to. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think he probably has said he would look forward to next year. I don't know if he's going to go to like Real Madrid or Barcelona are broke, so they can't buy him, or like PSG or Juve or some club that really has the money to buy him, or if he just goes on a reasonably cheap deal to like somewhere in Brazil, whether it's like you get 30 you get 30 million or 25 million from Brazilian club. He goes back to Brazil, plays for Internacional in Porto Alegre, and we just call his career. But I think it's a sign that there's a lot of work they need to do behind the scenes. It is good to get the goalkeeper done first because I think that's the most important position. I think Alisson is the most transformative signing we've made, more than Van Dijk, because he's essentially allowed us to go from a top 4 team to a Champions League, Premier League winning team.
And what about you, Toshin? It's not actually over the line yet. It's close. But do you have faith that we'll actually pull through with this one and actually get a transfer over the line?
I hope we do. I sincerely hope we do because he's a very interesting goalkeeper. I like him. I didn't think we were going to be in for him, but it makes perfect sense. He was one player. He's one goalkeeper I've been keeping an eye on for about 2 seasons at Valencia, and his profile has kept on increasing and growing. So I like him as a player. He's a fantastic goalkeeper, good shot stopper. Maybe he needs to improve a bit with the ball at his feet, which I think he can always get better with because he's a young goalkeeper. It makes perfect sense that if we finalize it, I hope we do, and I think we will, because it looks like we will. When we do, it's good. It makes sense that he goes back to Valencia. I didn't see him starting at Bournemouth this season with Neto there, with Mark Travers there. I think Andoni Raiola had that rotation set, so he might not want to upset what's going on there. Neto is the captain at Bournemouth as well, so maybe it was better that he stayed at Valencia. I hope he gets one more season on loan. I want Alisson to stay for 2 more years. People might disagree, but I want Ali to stay for 2 more years. And in fact, in my ideal world, he leaves on a free. And already knowing that we have this succession plan in place, Georgie comes in and slots in seamlessly. Guehi, we know that as it looks, I don't think he's going to stay. He's wanted to be first choice, even when Ali, the best goalkeeper in the world, is in between the sticks. He said he wants to be first choice. So that means someone like Marcelo might have to, step up his game in order to be second choice for us to Mamardashvili when Mama eventually becomes the first choice. But it makes perfect sense. You don't go to the Euros and make a splash like this young lad did against the quality of opponents that Georgia May at the face, and you say it's not a good goalkeeper. I saw him at the weekend against Barcelona, and if I had any doubts before, I was more convinced that this was the guy. He has a few things that he can finesse, but fantastic goalkeeper. From people that have asked about his personality, they say he's a good person, level-headed, will fit into the culture. So I think it looks like a Liverpool signing, and it looks like a Michael Edwards signing.
Yeah, it's something maybe Anil, that we should have done maybe with Van Dijk and Salah when you look at their contract situation now. Obviously, it's coming up at the end of the season and we haven't actually offered them a new deal. So it's obviously good to see us planning ahead in terms of Alisson. But do you think maybe we should have done the same with Van Dijk and Salah, with it being the last year of their contract now? And obviously, we're all quite worried as to whether or not they'll both renew alongside Trent as well. That was for you, Neil, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead, Sam, because you're speaking. Go on, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I think that was the plan they were trying to do. I think if I'm looking back over the past 2 to 3 seasons, I think the goal was when they bought Vandenberg back in after the Champions League, the idea was that he was probably going to be the next youth prospect that was very raw but very promising. And as we've seen, even if he does get sold, he looks like a top European center back that'll be great at any club, even if he's not good doesn't stay at Liverpool. Konate, you can see why they wanted Konate. I think the original plan for Konate was to replace Van Dijk, but it turns out but left center back is not his best option. Like even Van Dijk said when he was at Liverpool, he had Konate and Gomez with him. This is kind of like a flash of the past, like 2 years ago. I think it was during the quad race. He said, these 2 guys are the ones that are going to replace me. So I think there was a succession planning in mind going back to Ward and from Edwards to Ward. And then all of that chaos that happened in 2022, 23 kind of changed that a bit. And I think with Alisson, I think it's the same thing. I think they had an idea that like either Kelleher would come good or they'd get a ridiculous bid for Alisson or Yaros or Pitaluga or Davies. And these are all good goalkeepers. Like even our youth goalkeepers are not like we've seen Yaros already get a call up to the Czech squad. He's going to be a Czech international. He's a solid backup. He could be a top mid-table Premier League goalkeeper. We just don't know. He could even replace Alisson. I just think right now with where they're at, there's probably a lot of Hughes knows more than we do. Let's be quite honest about this, in the sense that he's probably already had conversations with all their agents, the players' agents, knowing where they're at and where they're feeling. And it's like, what are our priorities to replace? And even if we disagree with those priorities, he's thinking Alisson's got it one more year, or we think he's probably another year. So we need to nail the next goalkeeper now, because we don't think Kelleher is going to stay, and we don't think he's good enough. And Yaros is too raw, so we don't think he's good enough. And Pitaluga is still way behind. Davies is still way behind. So I think it's more the fact that they had succession planning, and then everything changed with Klopp leaving, with everything else, with certain players hitting and not hitting. And obviously with now a new coach, a new style of play, or a modified style of play of what we're doing, they have to restart the clock again. And I think that also didn't help that we went from Julian Ward to Jörg Schmacke, where, Ward probably came in with like an idea of how to transform the team. And then it came very clear, actually, we just need players. So he left, and then Schmacke came in and just started buying all the midfielders that he can get, which does work out. It did work out. We got 3 good midfielders and one possible one we might need to sell on, which is Indo. But even still, like, I don't think we're in a difficult spot if they can get Mamardashvili, even with like Van Dijk and all the other players. There are other great players out there for right wing, and we have good players in the squad now that can make up the numbers if we have to go without them. Even last year, we played 15 games without Alisson, and we still were in a title charge up until end of March, April.
With that then, Anil, initially we were rumoured to be loaning out our new goalkeeper, Mamar, for 2 seasons. As far as I know right now, it's just 1 year with Valencia. So do you think that means that we're going to let Alisson go on a free? If I'm right, I think he's got 2 years left on his deal. If not, do you think that we'd sell him at the end of this summer? You're on mute.
I think he's saying go. I know he's saying like go somewhere else. Oh, we have a microphone issue. I think we have a mic issue.
Anil's having some technical issues. Tosin, I'll put it to you then, mate. I think Alisson's got 2 years left on his deal. Initially, our new signing was meant to go to Bournemouth for 2 years. It looks like it's just 1 year now at Valencia, as far as I'm aware. So do you think that we're going to sell Alisson at the end of this season, or do you think he's another player that we might let go for free?
Please let him go for free. I think he's earned it with what he's won with us, won for us, and what he will win for us this season. He has to leave on a high. I think he's earned the right to decide how his future is going to be for Liverpool Football Club. There are some players, I don't think there are so many that can do that. I think we're talking about the best goalkeeper in the world here. And as much as I think it will make sense to sell him and, get some money back, but I think it has to be something that comes from the players and says, maybe I want to go and I want to run down the contract. It would be conversations that would be had, just like Jurgen, Mo, Virgil, Trent, everybody who's put sweat and blood into this team. We're talking about the goalkeeper who was part of the team that brought us our first ever Premier League title. Talking about the goalkeeper that helped us won the Champions League. So I think it would make sense that he goes at the end of his contract, not he gets sold. He has to be able to decide his future. He's earned that. I also think, most importantly, if we are going to loan Mamar again next season, I think it makes also perfect sense that we allow Mamar to go to Valencia on loan for 2 seasons. I think if he stays there this season, they go to the Champions League or they go to Europe, they're going to be back in Europe at some point this season or the next. I think they will be back in Europe next season, and it will be a very important part of that because of what they're trying to build with the young team, and also the fact that we would have seen him at top level maybe 1 season full. last season, Valencia missed out on the Europa places, the Conference League places on the last 2 games of the season. So I think it's important that he goes and lands at that top level. Bournemouth would have been a good option. Maybe when Newcastle caught the injury bug with goalkeepers, maybe it would have been a very nice one to have him go on loan with Newcastle, but they don't have the injury bug anymore. They have all the goalkeepers back, and it's not like they have any bad goalkeepers. So, for me, it makes perfect sense that he stays at Valencia for the next 2 seasons. Or if the club thinks they want to sell Alisson next summer, then maybe he stays for the season. They bring him. But I think Ali has earned the right to go on his own accord to dictate the terms that he wants to leave. If we're not going to extend his contract, we know we're not going to extend it. So let him play out the last 2 years.
I don't even want to think of a day without handsome Ali in our sticks. I love him, mate. I don't want him going in 2 years, 5 years. I'd keep him as long as he wants to be here. But you made a good point there, Toshin, because obviously if Valencia do manage to qualify for Europe, it would be good to have him have a European season. But even if it is only a 1-year agreement, that keeps all our avenues open. We can either keep Ali, sell him at a price, or maybe there's a better suitor for Mamar to go on loan to if Valencia don't get in Europe. So, yeah, it leaves a lot of options open for us. So you made a good point there. We'll move on from Mamar. It's not done yet. Looks like it's going to be done, which is good. So I'll move on to our next topic, which surprised me a little bit because it looked as if Slot quite fancied him in pre-season. It looks as if Van der Berg is edging towards a move away, and we're finally going to get our 20 million that we've been digging our heels in for. And it looks as if it's going to be Brentford that he goes to, although it's not confirmed. That's where he's definitely going to go. Neil, I don't know if you can speak yet, mate, but if no, are you done? All right. Dan, I'll come to you first then, mate. What do you make of the Van der Berg deal? Would you have sold him? Would you have kept him? Where'd you stand with it?
At the beginning of preseason, I think all of us were kind of okay with Sepp being sold at the beginning before he even played a game. Some with Carvalho, and maybe Bobby Clark's the one controversial one because a lot of people rate him, most because they just think he's better than Curtis Jones, which I think is very harsh on Curtis Jones in many ways. If they're going to sell Van der Berg and they're going to sell Gomez, that tells me that they have to be bringing in a center back, and it's probably going to be someone like Gonzalo Ignacio. I know since it's last year, I don't think they're going to buy Ignacio with club, but with the way Slot's playing and the fact we don't have a left-sided center back at the moment, if Gomez isn't a left-sided center back, he's a right-sided center back and a left back and a right back, and he's third choice in all of those categories. He's third choice right center back, he's third choice right back, he's third choice left back. He's selling him makes sense. And he's 27. He's been here for 9 years. He's won everything. He wants first team football. He wants to play more regularly for England. I understand it. Now that Gareth Southgate's gone, he has opportunity to make a name, become a more regular starter for the next World Cup. If Gomez goes and they keep Van der Berg, I can see us keeping Sepp Van der Berg and it working out just fine, because the way that Orange Team writes the article about Sepp's move is that he is valuation over 20 million, which is, I think, what Fabrizio Romano speculated. It's like closer to 25. And yeah, if it's Brentford or Bayer Leverkusen, I think it's a good move for him. And obviously it's a good chunk of change and all that. But if you're selling two, they're going to have to bring in one. And people already thought we needed to bring one in the at the beginning of the season. I've always thought that they would go with 4 center backs, 2 right backs, 2 left backs, so 8 defenders in total. It's a good deal for all parties. It's just, is the other signing secured already? That would be my one worry. I'm okay with selling Gomez and Sepp if you already have the next guy ready to sign through the door or close near the door, like an Ignacio. I know that someone mentioned Hencape. I don't think Hencape is happening. There just hasn't been a lot of strong links. Leverkusen haven't sold anybody, and I don't think they've sold anybody. Have they? Is still a center back?
No one of note. Frimpong stayed, and he has a release clause. Wirtz has
Yeah.
gone nowhere. They're arguably the two you'd be most worried about, really, as well.
Yeah, so I think with Leverkusen, Hencape being bought would be a next summer deal when Xabi leaves, which seems like the most likely thing is that Xabi Alonso will stay to the end of this year with Leverkusen, do his one more season, and probably leave. And obviously, I think the destination is Madrid.
Yep.
like I'm perfectly fine with both getting sold if someone comes in. If they sell Gomez and keep Sepp Vandenberg, I'm also okay with that because I think Sepp has shown that he is like I said, a good, solid European level center back. I don't think he's like much worse than Kielwar at Arsenal. I don't think he's like anywhere like I don't think he's worse than Gabriel is my point at Arsenal. And Gabriel starts every game. I think they're about the same. I just think maybe Gabriel might be a better ball distributor.
Right, well, our man's back, Neil. Are we sorted?
I'm back now.
Yeah,
we'll sort it out.
No. Right, I'm not asking you to do anything for the next 10 minutes. No, so Neil, obviously, Dan's just had his opinion on the Van der Beek deal. Where do you stand with it, mate? What are your thoughts of them being sold permanently? You happy with that? Are you happy with the price, or where do you sit?
On a previous stream, I made my thoughts clear that I would want us to keep him because I think he's a solid player. He looked good in pre-season, but sometimes it's about the player's wishes. If he wants regular game time, then we can't stand in his way because like he could be a solid squad option first, but I think he would want regular game time, and we can't say, you know, is he going to start ahead of Van Dijk and Konate week in, week out? We can't promise that. So if we were to sell him, I'm okay with 25 million, and then we'll go out and get somebody who's left-footed, who can give us a different dimension in our team. So like someone like Inaki from Sporting Lisbon, I'd be okay with that. Personally, I like the idea of Bastoni, but I think that's a bit too wishful thinking. Brantwaite just to piss off Everton. But yeah, if we were to get a centre back, for me, I'd be looking at someone like Inacio.
Inacio, yeah, he's the one we've heard the name of a little bit, isn't it, over the summer? And I think he has got a release clause, so it'll be a fairly easy deal. I say that this is Liverpool, nothing's easy. Yeah. Toshin, what about you, mate? Are you happy with selling Van den Berg, or are you with the Neil? Do you think maybe with him being young and versatile, he can play right back? He did at Preston North End on loan regularly. Do you think that's someone we maybe should have held onto with his age and his attributes?
Let me start by saying this. Regardless of whatever it is, it makes no sense if we're selling defenders when we don't have new guys in the door. So if you know you're going to sell Van der Berg, if you know you're going to sell Joe Gomez, if you know you're going to sell any fucking body, pardon my French, please, make sure that Inacio or Insapie are walking through the door. If they're not walking through the door, why are we selling anybody? It makes no sense to me. I'll be honest. I really like Van der Berg, but I think his agent is too much trouble. He's giving us too much stick. That guy I don't know. He's looking for the best deal for his kid, and it's good. But I mean, if it's okay if you're looking for the best deal for your kid, but you don't have to be an asshole about it. There are ways to go about this thing, and the kid goes to preseason, plays very well, and we all saw his quality, and we all saw his talent. I think left to me, it would be good to keep him. But then if he's not going to play, because I mean, just like the guy said, just like Dan and Anil have said, it's not going to be first choice. It's not going to be second choice. He's behind Churchill. He's behind Ibu. He's behind, as it is currently. He's behind Kwanzaa as well. The reason I'm a bit surprised with the way things have gone, because maybe the club made a mistake thinking it that he was a deal. They should have found a way to keep that on the wraps, because it looked like a choice across board, and he was going to always play at some point. Who can only fit, and at some point we will need to give.
Sorry, Toshin, your audio was cutting out a bit there, mate.
He's gonna get league game time, but if we don't get in a replacement, come on. I mean, if we don't get Inacio and those guys coming, if one of Inacio or Insapia coming, we can only sell one more because we need one left-sided centre back and we need cover for the centre backs as well. So because don't forget we've lost Joel Matip already. So if we've lost Joel Matip already, we don't have a replacement for Joel, and we want to sell guys. Come on, FSG, what are we doing? Come on, guys, come on.
I'm in a complete agreement with Toshin in what I picked up from his audio because it was a little bit blurry at times. I completely agreed, and we needed a centre half before selling any centre backs, Vandenberg or Gomez. Now, Gomez is still linked to moving, whether it's to be to Newcastle or elsewhere. Do you think we can afford to sell Gomez and Vandenberg with 10 days left of the transfer window?
Not unless they buy a center back for the season. I mean, I think you can survive with 4 center backs, 2 right backs, 2 left backs. I mean, I wasn't really too worried about replacing Joel Matip because you remember last year we had 4 senior center backs and Kwanzaa was the youth player. If we have, I know James had mentioned it, that we have Amando Nalo, who's 17, and Nathan Nat Phillips, who's 27, 28 now. Even though we all joke about Nat, but if Nat Phillips is 5th choice or even Armando Nalo, if Slot thinks he's ready. I know it's not, we have those youth players, but if he's like, okay, it's our 5th option, I know it's not the most standard thing, but they're probably thinking we can, or Slot's probably thinking we can go in with 8 defenders in total, 2 left backs, 2 right backs, 4 center backs. And if that 4 center backs, at least a good one, they're going to get game time. There's so many games going forward. Just to let you know, Paul Joyce did tweet that looks like he is off to Brentford for 20+ million. So that's looks to be done and official. So if Sepp's going now, there is a possibility that Sepp goes and Gomez doesn't go. So there's a possibility that neither of them, well, not neither, but both Sepp goes and Joe stays.
Yeah.
And if Joe's 4th choice, I think that's a good solid pairing 4. But I know Tosa may disagree with me. My worry is that we don't really have a left center back. So my guess is that Gomez and Sepp getting sold means that it's going to be an Ignacio. It's going to be some sort of left-sided center back that Slot wants, and that's what they're going to roll with. They're going to roll with 8 defenders going forward. I think that's fine. Like the only problem is last year we had a very weird start, so it got to the point to where we were playing our 4th and 5th choice at Wolves, which was I think Gomez and Kwanzaa. I think it was at Wolves, the 3-1. So there is that possibility, especially with a lot of games coming thick and fast after September. My thing is that if they can keep everyone fit, I think we're good. It's just a question of who's going to be fit and who's not going to be fit. And I don't think Slot wants 9 defenders. I think he wanted, if you're signing a center back, I don't think you have to worry about the DM. So if they sign a brand new center back with Gomez and Sepp leaving, I don't think you need to worry about the DM position with Mamardashvili coming in, but then it comes down to what are you doing at attack? Because if they're not buying another midfielder, they're buying a center back, they're buying a goalkeeper with the players that's left, you can make an argument that you need to buy a forward. No, not Mark Guehi. We're not buying Mark Guehi. I keep saying we're not buying him. I don't know why. I don't know why there is this Mark Guehi cult at here. I think he's a perfectly fine player. I just don't think he's worth the money or good enough for this side. Like Gonzalo Ignacio, you can make an argument for, but I know he said there's probably interest. I'm sure a lot of clubs are interested in Mark Guehi, but I feel like if Liverpool really wanted Mark Guehi, they would have went out and tried to sign Mark Guehi already.
I agree, actually. I think if we were going to move on that, we would have, because it's not that anyway. Newcastle have made 3 bids and it keeps going up and up and up. We like to do that down and down and down, try and save every penny that we can. Anil, where do you sit with Vandenberg in terms of if we sell Vandenberg and Gomez? I've just asked Anna, do you think that's all right, or do we need another centre half if we sell both of them? I personally think we'd be very short if we let both of them go and don't bring someone in. And who would you bring if you did want to bring someone? Sorry.
Yeah, I think if we let Gomez and Vandenberg go and we don't bring anyone in, I'm just taking a piss. Like just during the season with just Van Dijk, Konate with his injury problems and Kwanzaa, that's definitely too short. And you can't expect Nalo to play And then we've got Nat Phillips as well. I don't know why he's still at the club. In terms of what centre back I would like a left-sided centre back. So Inakio is someone that is realistic and he fits the bill for me. I wouldn't want Guehi because I think he's more the right-footed centre back, and I feel like Palace are overpricing. I don't think he's that good, and he's not much of an upgrade on Gomez. I don't feel so. I want someone who will be able to add something different, and someone like Inakio is very different to the three centre backs we currently have. So that's why I'm more happy to go for him. With Hincapi, I wouldn't mind him as well. I just don't know much about him. I don't know if he starts regularly for Leverkusen, whereas I know Inakio would have started for Sporting, which is why I'm more keen on just going for Inakio rather than Hincapi.
Hincapi is more of a left back, left center back, left back. Ignacio is just a left center back. He's either left center back or he's a midfielder. He's more John Stones, and Hincapi is more Guardiola, if that kind of a good comparison for like City.
Hincapi probably be more suitable for that, to be fair, because we could do with that cover on left back with this system, in my opinion. Toshin, go on. Sorry, mate. Didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, I was saying Dan's comp is very perfect. I think that's a perfect comparison for both guys. Perfect.
There you go.
He can play as a 6 as well. So he's able to slot in. You know, we like a lot of versatile players at LFC. We're very kings of versatility.
So, Toshin, if Gomez and Vandenberg are, well, Dan's obviously just said Vandenberg's probably gone, which leaves Gomez, and we haven't had any reports to say that Gomez has now made his mind up to stay. If they're gone, do you think Liverpool have already got something up their sleeve to bring someone in? Or do you think we're going to go the way we have been with the Kabak deals and the Artemellos and the lads who got the tour of the stadium and did never actually get on the pitch?
No, Jay. I disagree with Dan on that. I think Joel Matip going, we've not replaced Joel Matip. I think a lot of people trivialize Joel's contribution to our team over the last 6-7 years. That man was a Premier League and Champions League winning centre back, and he was very good in terms of the way he carried the ball forward. He was maybe one of our rangiest defenders, and he was tidy. I love Ibu Konate. I think he's a fantastic centre back, but I think Ibu, he still shows a bit of. Because I love Ibu, I overlook some of the things that he tends to do. I think sometimes it leaves me with a bit of a question mark sometimes. So he needs to play with a calmer head alongside him that puts him in check. I know a lot of people won't like this comparison. I think it's a bit like Jamie Carragher, but a bit better than Jamie. So he needs somebody that keeps him in check every time, because he's always the aggressor. He's not the calm head that tells everyone to calm down. And that's why I think that was what we had with Joel and Virgil. The two of them were calm centre backs, even though one was a ball carrier and the other one understood that he could cover the depth of the pitch and could control things a bit more. So that's my concern. I still think, if now that Sepp is gone, I felt with Sepp, Gomez, as well as Ibu, Kwanzaa, and Virgil, I thought that was going to be the centre back rotation for the season. If we got another centre, because I can't trust FSG to get a signing in, but I thought if you say one of them has got to go, you've got to bring in a quality defender. We can't lose two of them and then coming and say, oh, we're going to plug it in with one signing, because whether we like it or not, Gonzalo is going to need a bit of time to settle in. We're not just going to throw him into the deep end and say start playing Premier League games. That's never been Liverpool. He's not played in the Prem before. All the other players that have come into the Prem from other leagues that we've signed, we've always, especially since Jurgen and Michael, during his first coming, we've always given them a bit of time to settle in. So I think the wise thing would be to keep Joe for one more season, and let's see where it goes. By then, Nalo will be 18 in the season's time. It'll be a bit more mature. Ibu will be more mature. Maybe they will have decided not to extend Fetch's contract too, which would be crazy.
Tell you what then, Toshin, and I'll put this to each of you. Let's say we do sell Gomez and we do sell Vandenberg. Obviously, there's been a few suggestions in the chat. A few people have said Guehi, Brandwaite and Campe. If the two lads do go, who would be your choice, Toshin, to come in as a replacement?
Mark Gay is too expensive. Crystal Palace are going to try to rob us because they know now we need a player. So I think that's going to be very difficult to do. Insapio would be perfect for me. I mean, someone in the chat just said Bastoni. That's in a perfect world. But
Yeah, it really is.
that's in an ideal world. I think some of the signings are in an ideal world. Inacio, obviously, I would love to have Inacio, but if you have Inacio, then we need another one. I like Diomand. I like the thought of Diomand, but will Sporting not try to rip us, given that they try to rip us over a manager? You think they wouldn't try to rip us off over a defender as well? I mean, that's my fear with those guys when it comes to Inacio, Diomand. Those are the guys. I've looked around the league and thought to myself, there was a guy that I felt was a fascinating profile, Kevin Danso, but he's on the move now. I thought Danso was a fascinating profile. He used to play for Lens, played for Lens last season. I thought it's a fascinating profile, but I don't think we're interested in him. And obviously, people will think he's a bit more like Ibu as well. But there's a guy, Simakan, would also be a good one to watch out for. But if we're looking at the current names that have been circulated around, then Insapia looks like a great fit because he can play multiple positions and obviously, cover just like Joe does.
I was going to say, mate, you can only pick one.
Yeah, Insapia then. He will be the one.
Hey, at least you've got a few targets in mind. Hughes could have done with what you've done instead of just putting all your eggs in the one basket.
Yeah,
Neil,
I mean,
go on,
it's
sorry,
important.
Toshin.
It's important. I agree with you.
Yeah, no, mate, good. I wish he'd have more targets the way you have prepped. And Neil, you mentioned Anasio, mate. Would he be a number one choice? Is that who you go for if we do get rid of both of them? Or do we need more than one? Would you bring two in, or what would you do?
In a perfect world, I would bring two centre backs in. I would bring Inacio and another centre back, maybe Hincapi. Because I feel like with Konate with the injury problems, we can't always rely on him. And I think with 5 centre backs, you're making sure you're covered in all competitions because we are playing Champions League again next season. Got League Cup, FA Cup, the Premier League. And there are more games in Champions League as well. So I think it would be important to make sure we have a full squad. So I think having 5 centre backs will ensure that we are well covered in all areas. So yeah, that's what I think.
Dan, you said before you didn't feel we necessarily needed a centre back, even if both lads go. Is that right? Do you still feel that way, even with Ibu's?
No. If both go, we definitely need one. As I was saying, I would not want to do a 3. I'm saying I think we'd be okay with 8. I think if you have 4 center backs, 2 right backs, 2 left backs, that's as solid as you can get. Because, like Anel mentioned, the only time we've had 5 center backs in the past couple of years, and I know Thompson mentioned it, Joe Mata was my favorite center back. I'm not like, you can't replace Joe Mata because he was, at a time when he was healthy, was essentially the best center back in the world, barring Virgil van Dijk. And there were some times where he was much better than Van Dijk. If you need 4. So if they're selling Gomez and Sepp, then someone's got to come in. And I imagine that they probably have that someone lined up. We just haven't had the rumors because the Mamardashvili was the one that's dragged on. Who I would buy.
Yeah.
For the fume, I would take Jared Brentwaite because I think Brentwaite is a good center back. He is 22. He's the same profile. I know Tussin gonna say he's the same profile as Sepp.
No, I'm with him. I'm with that way even.
You're with Tussin, yeah. With Tussin is there.
Yeah,
I would do it solely for the fume. It'd be worth it. I would just be worth it. My one worry with a lot of these center backs you mentioned, so Diomande at Sporting, he's not going anywhere. So if they're selling any center back, it's probably Ignacio, but Diomande is probably not going anywhere because he's the center of that three. He's essentially what Ruben Amorim needs for that team. If you look at who we were looking with Lenny Euro, they were looking at either someone that had raw potential that they could develop. So he was 18, again, not that much older than Armando Nalo, but definitely more developed and play more games. Or the other one that we were linked to last year for a couple of ones were ones that were left-footed that were good ball players. So at this point, I think if you're selling Gomez and Sepp for a ball-playing center back, the only one that's good is Ignacio. The only one that statistically like pops in any way, shape, or form that Liverpool would be looking at behind the scenes is Gonzalo Ignacio, and I think that's who they are most likely negotiate. Well, I say negotiate. They're probably negotiating with his agent now, then triggering the release clause for him. Though, granted, again, I don't know how Portuguese release clause work. They probably are working on the structure of that. Whatever, Hughes is doing as well. My one worry though is that if they sell, if they're selling both, buying Ignacio and buying Georgi Mamardashvili, and there are potentially even more outs with a lot of the youth players, including Nat Phillips could potentially go. I think I would be worried then because the next one's then Nalo. But again, with 4 center backs, you should be fine. With 8 defenders, you should be good in a hypothetical universe.
Oh yeah, no, just mean Nalo's not ready.
Right yeah, no, I agree. Nalo's not ready. If you're doing Mamardashvili and Ignacio, that's a good window, but it's also a lot on the table because you still have the right wing question. That's the biggest one for me because Doak's probably going on loan, and they were trying to sign Gordon, so they obviously think they need a forward. So if that's the situation, do you still have time to get a forward in this window, or is that something that's going to be pushed to January? For me, as long as they get a center back in before the window's over, I think we're solid till December, and then we can see what January brings us. But as of right now, that should be enough. Till then, cross all the fingers and toes and everything else for what we've experienced the past couple of years. But yeah, no, if they go with 3, I'm every game is like I'm just closing my eyes every time someone makes a challenge because I've lived this reality before. I lived this reality before, and I just don't want to go through it again. But I don't think we have anybody that's a Fabinho that's like a DM that can play center back. The only one that probably could is Endo, and I don't think Slot wants Endo playing center back. So yeah, if they're getting sold, someone else is probably going to come in within these last 2 weeks. And I think it's important to remember that this is the past 2 years, we've been very busy up the transfer deadline day trying to get players in. So last year we had Endo around this time. Then we bought Gravenberch. So Mamar comes in, Ignacio comes in. Maybe they get Gordon on deadline day, or they get Bakayoko or some other player that they want.
It's a lot of optimism from you, that Dan, lads, with 10 days left.
Hey, you never know. Listen. Like, you never know. Like, we've had crazy transfers in the past.
No, listen, I hope you're right, lad. I hope you're right. Moving on from that then, Anil, I'll go on to a little bit more what Dan said, because I was going to bring it up anyway. Klopp's best mate, James Pearce, today mentioned that there could still be quite a mass clear out. So he mentioned Benzo, Tyler Morton, Nat Phillips, Berg, Kay Gordon, and the big one that still stands out for me is Bajcetic. If Morton and Bajcetic go, if Bajcetic is going out on loan, we surely already have to have a midfielder lines up in talks. Surely. Where do you stand with that, Anil? If Bajcetic goes out on loan, is that all right? We don't need no other midfielder to come in, because Gravenberg's obviously a bit of an experiment at the minute. You know, he's not really played 6 up until last week. So where do you sit with it? Do we still need a midfielder? Are you happy for Baj to go?
I'd only be okay with Bajcetic going on loan if we bring a DM in, because, as you said, Gravenberch is like an experiment at the moment. And I'm not completely happy with the fact that we're just getting rid of like all these young players, like Bobby Clark. Like I know not all the young players will make it to the first team, but we are getting rid of so many young players. We're just happy just letting them go. Like with Carvalho going to Brentford, Van der Berg, looks like he can go in there as well, and Bobby Clark going to Salzburg. I'm not sure if it's the right move. It feels like we're just trying to add more money, trying to add more to our budget to buy players. And some of these young players could potentially be really good players. So, yeah, and I definitely wouldn't get rid of Guehi. I think Guehi got a big role to play this season for us. And even if we do get a DM in, I still want Guehi in the squad, but I can kind of accept it a little bit as long as we do get a DM in, because Guehi obviously he's been out last season with injuries. It should give me a chance to play regular football somewhere to build himself back up. And then the next season, he can then be part of the squad and rotate with whoever we have with a new DM and all the players.
And what about you, Tosin? If Bajcetic does go out on loan and we do sell Tyler Morton, surely we have to be bringing in a 6 or another midfielder. Do you think we'd need another midfielder, or do you think we'd be all right to let both them go? Because the only reason I mention this is it doesn't seem like Schloff fancies Enzo either. So it does look as if come the end of the window that Enzo probably gets sold. And then for Bajcetic to go out on loan, we surely have to have someone lined up, don't we?
I agree with you. I agree with the guys. I just want to say this: if Endo, where I didn't take it serious that we needed a 6 until Endo came out and said it himself that the club needed a player there. I mean, it's a person that's there permanent currently comes out to say that. I mean, it tells you something. It tells you that he's looking at it himself, and that's honest, man. That is what
Yeah.
you need in a player. He was very honest and said, "I think the club needs a player like this," because he played in there and he saw what it was like. And in all sincerity, even with keeping Stefan and Tyler, I thought we needed a 6. The type of 6 we needed was a question mark, and when the links came, I've always said that I thought the ideal person for us was. I looked at Manchester City, what they had, and said Zubimendi was a perfect guy. But then the man said he was going to stay with his club, and I said, okay, no problem, good for him, congratulations. Scored in the first game, even though they lost, fantastic. But I think we need a controller at 6, someone who can control the game, someone who can be a box crasher, someone who can. Someone who can also arrive and control the game from that deep role, more like the leader of an orchestra. And people might disagree, but I think Bajcetic is a perfect. He's in that mold, but he's not developed yet physically, and that was the reason why his body broke down last season. You could see it. So I'm not against him going on loan, but if he's going to go on loan, you have to sign someone
And
for Slot to come and not bring Mats Pfeiffer from Feyenoord, I thought was criminal. And if you are not bringing that guy, you have to bring in a higher profile of that guy. I've tried to look at the market for a 6 that gives us what someone like Zubimendi or Rodri will give us. That profile is rare. And the closest person to maybe something that an Endo can give us is Ederson at Atalanta. But I'm not confident that he can play at the highest level week in, week out. That's my concern. I may be wrong, and I will be very happy to be wrong. But I think that's the other profile of the player that looks like can come into that team and give us something in the 6 role. Because if you sell Tyler Morton, which is madness to me, by the way, guys, this kid is gone on loan 2 years in a row, played very well, fantastic football. And here I am thinking, let's give him a run in the first team. Maybe this season, let him play the cup games. Let's see how good he performs. And now you want to sell him? And then we're going to hear things like we've earned the right of first refusal. Oh, yes. And then when we have the right of first refusal, we have a sell on clause. That's the new thing. Come on, guys. What are we doing? If they know that they're going to get, if they're not going to get somebody in, don't sell them. So if you're not sure, why are you selling them? So we're going to sell them, and then you're going to make me have a heart attack, praying on deadline day at 11 p.m. that God, please let my club sign a player. Come on now, guys. Come on. We have to fix up, guys. Come on.
So I think Tosin brings up a good thing, but I just want to say that the player he's talking about, that controller at 6, who's similar to Rodri, who's similar to like Tchouaméni, all the great DMs who play as double pivots or singles. I know who he's talking about. It's Ryan Gravenberch. That's exactly what we saw at at Ipswich. Now I know people are gonna say it's Ipswich, first game of the season, everything as well. But when you saw him swap and be a little bit deeper, go a little bit of an invert pivot, he bossed the game. And I think we've seen like Gravenberch 22. He's the age that Tchouaméni was when he had his breakout season at AS Monaco. And I think that when we were linked to Zubimendi, Slot hadn't played Gravenberch at the 6. He had not worked with him yet. He was working with what was available in front of him. He obviously knows Ryan Gravenberch as a player, but he's never actually worked with him and seen him. And now that he has him and he's played him there, he's probably thinking to himself, oh, I probably don't need anybody. I'm not saying that if they bought Zubimendi, Gravenberch wouldn't play deeper, or we would have sold him or something else. It's a changing environment. The Zubimendi deal fell through. Slot may be thinking, actually, I'm good. In terms of the Morton thing, I would agree with you, Tosin, but I think the reason they're looking to sell Morton is because they probably, I'm guessing here because I don't think he's played him yet, is that I think we know that they really rate Trey Nioni, and I think it's interesting that Trey was playing as a deeper midfielder. So I think they're trying to clear the decks for him to make that jump to be the next one. I also think there's an argument that they're looking to do McConnell too, that if Morton goes, that McConnell may be that next one that kind of comes up as well, because he's already played. I was looking at their minutes here. So McConnell's played 3 games for us in total. And I believe he's played, 9 games in total, 3 in the league. So he's already played.
Yeah, he got an assist in the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, he did. He's already played more games for us than Sepp Vandenberg did. And I think Sepp Vandenberg's a good player. Morton only played 2 games for us, about 9 total, about the same as McConnell that one season. He was much younger, much less developed. So I would be more worried because I actually think Morton's a decent player. And if you need like cover, he's just a less mature version of Curtis Jones at this point. I don't think they need, I've said this all summer, I don't know if we need a 6 or not because I don't know what Slot wants in that position. As the summer's progressed, they were interested in Zubimendi. Zubimendi was a very interesting profile with great aerial wins, not anything spectacular, but very solid midfielder who's great in the air. The Lisnel Gayeb. But I think now that's now Gravenberch's role. And I think if Ryan stays obviously fit and he's in that role, I think that he's like, okay, we're going to make this Ryan's role now because Zubimendi stayed. No one out there we really rate. We're not signing Manuel Ugarte. He's going to Manchester United alone.
Let me stop you there.
Yeah.
It's in our group chat that we are signing Ugarte.
Charlie's just messing with us.
I don't know how true it is. If someone's on the winds up, just let me double check.
No, Charlie's just winding up.
I know.
Carry
on. Sorry, lad.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I know. I don't take anything seriously until I actually go and read like my feed and see what it is. I know. But the thing is like, if you think of Manuel Ugarte, he's just a slightly better. He's just a better version of Endo, but he's not as good.
He is. Yeah. Nail on the head. He is. He's a young Endo, actually, mate. That's nail on the head.
Yeah, and listen, I think. Yeah, and I think last year, if Klopp was still here, Ugarte would be a perfect signing for that 6, being like a Caicedo, being like a better version of Endo that they Jorg may have signed last year. But this is a different side with a different setup, so I don't think they need I don't think they need to sign a midfielder or a 6 currently as things stand. If players get sold, like Tosin said, maybe my opinion will change on that because there's no one out there that I really rate that highly, or I don't think is going to be like a game changer that they want. So that's why I said it's like you might as well just buy a forward. If you can't buy a 6, you can only buy one center back. You're buying a goalkeeper for next year. Just buy a forward. Buy Anthony Gordon or somebody. I don't care who it is. Johan Bakayoko.
What I'll ask you then, Zan, and obviously you think we're pretty set for the 6 if everyone stays as is. If Endo does get sold and Bezetic goes out on loan, do you still think we're all right in midfield, or would you bring someone in?
I'd probably look at buying somebody, but my worry is if they're doing that, I think Bajcetic going on loan is contingent on if Morton gets sold. If Tyler Morton gets sold, I think they'll keep Bajcetic around because he will get game time and training time. So if Morton doesn't leave and Endo doesn't leave, I think there is a chance Baj goes. So it's that contingency. If Morton and Endo stay and Baj gets loaned out, I think we're fine. If both get sold and Bajcetic gets loaned out, I think we're a bit of bother just because of the amount of games you're going to play. You're playing 2 extra Champions League games. You essentially from September to December, you're playing a game every 2 to 3 days minus international break. So you're going to have to manage legs and minutes. And at that point, you're just making more work for yourself. And I don't know if Richard Hughes, like as handsome as he is, I don't think he's someone who needs to make more work for himself already on top of what he needs to do. I don't agree with the big squad thing. I think what you need, and I think this is what City have done, is that you need a solid 18 to 20 players that are like your first team. And that's who you play and rotate. And then the 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 are like your rotational players, your veterans, your youth players that may come in, your third choice goalkeeper, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think you need a big squad. And I think you can see that with Chelsea. The big squads are not exactly a good thing. I know, like with João Felix coming in as well. So that would be that. My one worry is that if they're selling those players, if they don't bring someone in, that's what I'm worried. But if they keep the midfield as is with one of Endo and Morton going and Badge staying, I think we're fine. As of right now. Now that could change. That could change by September 1st, and like half the team is injured or got food poisoning or something. You know, that could change on a dime. But as of things stand right now, and I've said this for the summer, we have a pretty solid group of players. Everyone that's gotten sold so far or is about to be sold are players that have not played a lot of games for us. Regardless, we think of Bobby Clark, Fabio Carvalho, or Sepp Vandenberg. These are all players that their value is still very good, and they have not played a lot of games. So you can move them on quickly, bring in money, bring in more cash, because you're going to have to replace a lot of other parts of the team. And I think that's the biggest that for me would be my biggest worry, is if they feel like they need to sell Morton, loan out Badge, and sell Endo to make that happen. That's when I'd be worried.
I'm actually in agreement about the youngsters being sold. There isn't anyone they've sold that worries me. They're not people that were going to get minutes. The only thing you would have done if you didn't sell them was loan them out. So I'm not too bothered about the youngsters that we've sold so far. I am with Van den Berg if we sell Gomez as well and don't replace him. And Baj I'd keep anyway, because I think there's minutes in our team for him. We'll finish up on this. Anil, do you have faith that if all the people rumoured to be leaving, and I'll go with the people who actually get game time because they're more the ones that matter in terms of what you've got for the season going forward. So let's say Liverpool do sell Enzo, we do loan out Baj, and we sell Gomez and Van den Berg. Do you think we'll replace them by the time the window's shut and with good enough quality?
Yeah, I think the club are not that stupid to let Endo and Guehi, as well as Gomez and Vandenberg, go. Because you just simply can't do that. You can't let yourself fall short in 2 important areas of the squad. And I think they surely must have someone lined up if they're going to let all these players go in both areas. They just have to.
My little thought and hope, Tossin, is all these sales are happening because we've got something big lined up that no one knows about. Where do you stand, Tossin? Do you think if we do sell these players that I've just mentioned to Anil, that we will replace them adequately come the end of the winter, which, bear in mind, is only 10 days away, which I don't even think was half of the Zubimendi deal.
The only thing I have to do now is I have to start lighting candles and praying, because that's the only thing that matters now. Because I have to pray and hope that we're gonna get some. Look, guys, I'm not going to try and. I know it's sounding a bit pessimistic, but the way we operate, we move very fast on targets.
Yeah,
I think this is. I also understand that the complications of this is new to the guys. You know, they're new guys, so they not new guys in the sense of the word, but this is the first summer they're working in this structure, so things are going to take a bit of time. But I mean, Michael Edwards moves very fast on his targets. Once he locks in on his target, moves very fast. That's the way he operates. Richard Hughes, from what I know of him at Bournemouth, once there's a target, Bournemouth did not stretch long into the transfer window looking for players. We saw them last season when he brought in Tyler Adams, brought in Sinisterra and all those boys. It was something, moved very fast, identified the targets, and that's my concern. I'm not against selling the young players. I said this in the chat earlier on, and I said, look, if you're going to let academy boys go, if you're going to let the young talents go, you have to have a reasonable upgrade on them. The City model, the reason why City are able to have a core of 20 guys is because for every player, there is a replacement that is not, the drop off is not much. So look at our team now. Let's look at the first team. If, God forbid, or things don't go right and somebody gets injured, let's look at the next best option in each role. Are we very confident? We saw that last season. I mean, yes, the kids won the FA Cup for the EFL Cup for us, but then we saw it in the FA Cup against Man United, which I'm still livid about till today because we gave them a gift. We should have been the one lifting the trophy. Then look at the way the title challenge petered out too, because I thought, look at the gap between number 1 and number 2. So if we're selling this, guys, you have to bring somebody to me that makes me say, okay, it's worth it after all. If it's not worth it after all, then why are we selling them? If I'm selling Tyler Morton, I'm loaning out Bajcetic, I'm loaning out these guys. I agree with Dan on the Gravenberg beat. I just think that for me, the only concerns I've always had with Ryan is his confidence. It's not looked confident every time. Come on, dude. Now we're telling you to play the 6. If I'm not, in fact, nothing. There's nothing I tell you. If I tell you I'm confident, I believe in you. It's up to you to believe in yourself. There were times in that game it looked like he didn't believe in himself, and I was wondering, what's wrong with this guy? And the coach is giving you the keys. Good player. So I think, in all sincerity, if you're a player at Liverpool Football Club, look, guys, I spent almost 15 years of my life. 15 years might be a bit too much, but I'm exaggerating it, I know, but it's 5 years, and those 5 years were horrible. When we were playing in the Europa League, I couldn't face my friends in school. I couldn't go to work. I go to work and I start hiding when they're talking Champions League. Now I'm in a place where they come to me to ask about Champions League football. They say, oh, when's the draw? Or they come to me, they say, oh, because they know that we're at the top of the tree. And everything in English football is great when Liverpool are performing well. The air feels great. Everything feels, the world just feels right. And for us to stay there, we have to keep a certain standard. And if we're letting our academy guys go, we're letting these young lads go, bringing a replacement that I look at and say, this is a good guy. Let the data show me, let the stats show me. I mean, I've been in those rooms. For the club I consult with here, that's what we do. You look at it. Is this kid good enough? It's not good enough, then why is he better than the upside that this guy's going to give us? I appreciate you bringing us targets, but don't tell me we're going to sign Inacio, and then I'm praying and holding candle lights on the 1st of September at 11 p.m. and I'm praying, God, that I'm going to be on Sky waiting. Oh, are we going to sign anybody? Are we going to sign anybody? No, come on, guys. Let's show that is not what we're doing. We can't be having candlelight processions and hoping that we sign players on September 1st when we can get ahead of it now.
I think we're all in agreement that if Tosson had Richard Hughes' job, we would have a number 6 by now. Yeah, we in agreement. I'll finish with you then, Dan. It's only a really easy one, to be honest. If we do sell Enzo, loan out Baj, sell Gomez, sell Van der Berg, do you trust Hughes and Liverpool to bring in the replacements that are going to be needed in the time that's left in the window?
Oh, it's a loaded question. As of right now, I trust us to be earned. I can't trust Richard Hughes for anything because he hasn't done anything yet. He's done a lot, but he hasn't done anything with signing players. What I will say about Hughes is that my reading of the situation is that he understands what needs to be done, and he is working on players. Like, we didn't know about Zubimendi or a 6 until that dropped, and they were trying to get it done. Zubimendi backs out. They're like, all right, we're not looking at anybody else. I think that they will get some of it done, but not all of it, which is usually how these things go every window, is that you get 8 out of 10s, but not 10 out of 10s, which is like fine. We don't always need to have perfect windows. My worry is that if they don't get it done now, or at least most of it lined up, I don't think they're going to do all those sales. I think that maybe half of them get done. So I think that at this point, I don't think Indo goes because there hasn't been any links to that. I think Morton may go, but again, there hasn't been really solid links on that. Similar with Clark, which means Bash will probably get loaned out, which seems the most likely one of those three to happen. I do trust they will get some players in. I don't know if there'll be the players that people will be excited about. So, like I said, I've said ever since the beginning, they might sign 1 or 2 players. If they're signing a goalkeeper for next year and a left center back, I don't think a lot of people will be happy with that, with the amount of players that have already gone out. People will say that it's like, oh, why don't we let like 12 go? Why don't we sign like 30?
No,
the one thing is, so the one thing I will say though, is that from this transfer window is that it very much mirrors Klopp's, where we had a lot of churn. We sold a lot of players, only bought like 3. If they can buy 3, I think that's whatever those 3 are: Ignacio, Mamardashvili, a DM, a forward, or whoever, another defender, who they're what, so be it. I think they're fine. I think we'll be solid. I think we'll be good to January. And that's the other thing too. They have January to do things. It's just, are you buying in January when we're in a title race? Are you buying in January when they're chasing top 4? Are you buying in January where we're already like 6th, 7th, and like we're like 15 points off 3rd? You know, those are the things. My dad's in the chat right now, gassing me up. Thank you, Dad. I know you're probably watching this on the TV. Hi, Mom. If they do all this, if they do all the selling and none of the buying, I'd be very worried, because not just because of the thing of being short, it's because everyone knows you have a lot of money and you can take advantage of that. If they're able to get these deals done in the next couple of days, and I think they can get 2 done, possibly 3 done. This is the moment where Richard Hughes has to earn his marbles. Like, beyond the contracts, everything else, this is what you got brought in to do. You got the money, go make the signings that you need to make, that the recruitment team and Slot needs to make, not just now, but going forward, because Slot's here for 3 years. And FSG do not fire. They do not fire managers. Like, the only time they fired someone was Rodgers, and they only let him go because they got Klopp in. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's going to be exciting. I'm not really too stressed or worried about this window, or even this season, because I like what I've seen so far. My only worry is that everyone loses their heads before like anything, but everyone's going to lose their heads before September 1st. And then September 1st is going to happen. And then everyone's going to be like, oh, what were we freaking out about?
I'll tell you where I stand with it, and then I'll finish. So Olivier made a comment here about it'll be the worst if we haven't got people lined up now. I'm in agreement with him that they can show. What's making me think that we will actually sign a midfielder and a defender is there can surely be no way on earth that you would entertain selling Van den Berg and Gomez, loaning out Bajcetic, and potentially selling Enzo if you didn't already have someone basically halfway through the door. And what I'm hoping is, because of the way the Zubimendi thing plays out, and obviously Joyce said last week we won't be releasing nothing, is that hopefully we do have these things lined up halfway done, and we won't know nothing about it till it lands, like Fabinho, like Firmino, so many of the deals that we've seen in the past that Edwards had done. So for any of the fans being pessimistic, which I'm guilty of as well, that's my little ray of hope, is that we wouldn't do all this without having something planned, because surely you can't be that incompetent and stupid. But on that note, anyway, do you want to say something, Neil, then?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think in terms of the centre back, I can see Gomez and Van der Berg both going, and I do think that we will bring a centre back in. But then I think, as Dan was saying, it will be like some players will go, some will stay. So I think the midfield, maybe Morton will go, but I still think like Endo will still be at the club. I don't think we'll end up buying a DM because there's not enough time left. So yeah, my prediction is we will get a centre back in, but I don't think we're going to get a DM in.
Well, we've got 10 days left to find out, and if anything does happen, this is where you'll hear it first. If you haven't liked or you haven't subscribed, make sure you do, because we're on 7:30 every single night. And if we do get a signing, this is where you're going to hear about it. And don't forget, we've got our deadline day stream as well. So you're going to see our man Slack, and he'll get his yellow tie out for you. So if anything does happen, we'll be there covering it all for you. Thanks everyone for watching, and remember, like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. Have a boss night, everyone. Take care.